would be great. All right. So we're going to get going. Just before we do, I just want to make a couple of housekeeping announcements. So the first one being, for everyone on the line, we are recording this meeting. So I just want to disclose that, put that up front. We put it on our website so everyone is aware of that. So that's just one first order of business, just to put out there for everyone to be aware of. So before we dig into our agenda, I'd like to take just a few minutes and have everyone on the board please introduce themselves, say hello. So I'll kick us off. My name is Hillary Papineau. I'm the chair of the Helderberg Neighborhood Association, and really excited for tonight, an important meeting. We have a lot of important speakers coming up and some important community discussion. So thanks very much.
I'm Dave Statlander, Communications Chair.
Eric G. I'm Vice Chair. Live over on Pinewood Ave with my 3 daughters and my wife Amy, and a dog and a cat.
Hi, it's Julie Rutan. I'm the HNA Community Liaison. Thank you all for coming.
And hi, everyone. I'm Chris Halpin. I'm the HNA Treasurer. If you, I was just giving a plug, if you haven't joined the Neighborhood Association, you can always use your support. You can join the Neighborhood Association by going to hnaalbany.com. So we hope you can support us.
And I'm Luke Nickerson. I'm the HNA Secretary.
All right, I know Mary might be running late. Is anybody scrolling through the list? Is Mary on board yet, or online yet, I mean? Okay, we'll have her jump in as soon as she's on. So did we catch all of the rest of our board members? Did we miss anyone? I don't think so. All right, wonderful. Well, thanks so much. When we eventually go back to in-person meetings, it'll be a little bit easier to have more of an introduction with more of our participants on this call. Is a little bit more difficult with Zoom, but we so appreciate everyone's time tonight. We do have some important conversations, important topics to discuss with everyone. So thank you. Just a couple of housekeeping updates before we dig into the more interesting content tonight. So first off, I want to just give a huge shout out to the Albany Public Library. Their concierge service provides these Zoom meetings free of charge to neighborhood associations. It's a hugely valuable service, and I want to in particular give a shout out and a thank you to our APL host this evening, Morgan Zell, who has some ties to the neighborhood, and just let me know she'll be at the Bach branch pretty soon. So thank you very much, Morgan, and we look forward to hopefully running into you at the library. So thank you. Now, a couple of other just housekeeping items. So we do have some strict Zoom security measures in place. It's always a balance of, security and accessibility. So we do have everyone automatically muted. If you have anything to say, please either put a message in the chat, please raise your hand using the little emoticons, or just, wave your hand like this. We'll get to you. We do have a couple of folks calling in, so we know that's a little more difficult to ask questions, but I'm going to share my cell phone. You can text me if you're a texter. It's 518-637-6461, or we always welcome questions either during the meeting or afterwards, and we'll follow up with the appropriate speakers and get back to you. And our email address is hna@hnaalbany.com. So we're doing our best to accommodate everyone and balance security as well. Again, just let us know if you have any questions. Just raise your hand, jump in, and we'll unmute you. Okay, so I think that's it for Zoom logistics. Just a couple of other announcements before we dig into the meat of our agenda this evening. So, and let me first start off by actually just sharing the agenda and just touching base on what we're going to cover tonight. So, okay, here we go. We have a couple of neighborhood updates that we'd like to share, some events coming up that the Helderberg Neighborhood Association is working on. We want to make sure everyone's aware of. We also have our Neighborhood Engagement Unit Officer, Gordy McLean, online tonight. So he's going to be sharing some neighborhood statistics, taking any questions. We're very excited. It's springtime, we have beautiful weather. So we just had Earth Day not that long ago. So we have some great updates from both the City of Albany as well as the Albany Sustainable Advisory Committee in terms of food waste, composting, other sustainability practices that we'll be sharing information about. We have quite a few of our elected officials, local, state, and other community representatives with us online tonight, which is wonderful. So we'll be hearing updates from those folks. And then I didn't update this, but we just recently got some additional information that we'll share. So it'd be item number 4 on the agenda relating to the post office, which, as I think many of you by now know, is impacted by the redevelopment at 563 New Scotland. So once we hear updates from our local, state, and other community officials, then we'll share those updates, have a conversation, get your questions, and discuss some of the strategies moving forward. So that's the agenda for tonight. If there aren't any questions at this point, if there are, please jump in and we'll grab them. And if not, then we'll just share a couple of neighborhood announcements. And so Dave Statlander on our board is going to be monitoring questions. So Dave, just jump in at whatever point in time makes sense. If you see any questions come in. Okay, so a couple of updates from the HNA. So with COVID restrictions lifting, we feel comfortable resuming our annual yard sale event. We've been getting a lot of questions about it. We know the community is excited. If you're not familiar with this event, basically any household interested in the neighborhood, we pick a day, and whoever is interested in doing it will host a yard sale at their house. We'll coordinate with you in advance. We'll give you signage. We will create a neighborhood map so everyone can see where the yard sales are, so you can plan your day, walk around, get some good shopping in. We will be adhering to whatever CDC guidelines are in place, so stay tuned for more information on that front. And most importantly, the date. Well, safety and health is always most important, but the date is going to be Saturday, June 12th. And if the weather is bad, then the rain date will be that following Sunday, June 13th. So we've been putting out some save the dates. We'll be getting more information out shortly. We do have an easy sign up, an online sign up form that we will be sending around for anyone who's interested in hosting. And again, we'll get those houses on the map, share the map, and hopefully some good shopping will be coming up. We also have, Chris, do you want to share some updates from one of our community partners, Northern Rivers?
Sure. In our continued efforts to support our community partners and businesses, we just wanted to give you some updates. One, Northern Rivers, I don't know if any of you are familiar with, they have a greenhouse, and every year the students work at the greenhouse as well, and they sell plants and different items over there, and it's a really nice thing that they do there. But unfortunately this year, because of COVID, they're not allowed to have the public on their facility. So they're going to reevaluate their programming, and likely next fall they'll probably be able to have folks come back into the greenhouse. So just stay tuned for that. We'll give you more information as they transform their greenhouse over there. And we're also going to post a video on the chat. You can take a look at that, just about the different work that they're doing at the greenhouse. So feel free to check that out on your free time.
Thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, the video, it's not too long. It's pretty neat, this greenhouse that they have. So we want to definitely support them. Encourage everybody to share that link to the virtual ribbon cutting ceremony. It's a pretty neat program that they have with the youth over at Northern Rivers. And hopefully when they are open, go and enjoy some plant shopping too. All right, one other update that we have, a new program that we're going to be piloting this summer. We're really excited about it. It's actually going to be a partnership between the HNA, the NORC, oh geez, I'm going to forget the acronym I should have prepared.
Want me to help you, Hillary?
Please, thank you, Julie.
It's the Neighborhood Naturally Occurring Retirement Community, also known as NORC.
Thank you, Julie. And then our third partner in that pilot program is going to be Raganese, one of our beloved local restaurants. So basically the idea is that we want to provide a service to make it easier and safe for older adults in the neighborhood to order out at a local restaurant. And so Raganese has graciously agreed to be our partner for this pilot program. We're going to keep it very simple. We're going to pick a day and evening, probably in mid to late July. And what we're asking for anyone who's interested from the neighborhood to volunteer to be a delivery person to go to Raganese, pick up the meal and bring it to whoever, the older adult in the community who's placed that order. We're keeping it very simple. There will be 3 meal options: eggplant parm, chicken parm, and I forgot the third. It'll be a fixed price. The NORC is going to be handling all of the logistics, so the volunteers will not be exchanging money. You're not going to be coordinating who wants to order what. It'll be all very organized through the NORC. So stay tuned for more information. We haven't picked a date yet, but we will be looking for volunteers who are interested in helping deliver those meals and looking to see if this is something we want to continue moving forward, as this will be a pilot. And then just a couple of other quick announcements. So, like everyone else in the world, we're trying to navigate what's happening with COVID, evaluate whether some of the traditional events can take place or not, or in modified versions, the picnic, the movie Under the Stars. So we really don't know. We really don't have any answers right now, but we do know that we're in the process of thinking about it, evaluating it, looking at the options. So we'll share information as we're able to make decisions. So stay tuned for more information in the coming weeks over some of the annual events. And then just one last HNA update we wanted to pass on. We do have a couple of volunteer opportunities to support some of our vulnerable neighbors in the community. We have folks who need help with grocery shopping. While COVID is becoming less of an issue, we do have older adults, people with disabilities, so there are still needs that in terms of grocery shopping. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to us. Similarly, we have some folks interested in help with lawn work. We have somebody who's asking for help to dispose of electronics and hazardous waste, and would be willing to actually compensate in that situation. So if these are the types of things you're interested in, please drop us a note and we can coordinate with you. And then just a quick public service announcement. So we know that the budget, the City of Albany School District budget passed yesterday. That's exciting news. There is a library vote 2 for trustee roles. Now, just coming up, just keeping it on your radar, there are important elections. The City of Albany Common Council candidates, for example, the primary election will be Tuesday, June 22nd. The polls will be open from 6 to 9, and there will be early voting from June 12th through 20th. Similarly, the general election, not till the fall, November 2nd, but again, early voting will be in place from October 23rd through 31st. So just putting a plug out there, do your civic duty and keep those dates on your radar. Okay, so Dave, I know we wanted to just give a shout out, a boost for some of our local establishments. Did you want to say a few words?
Thanks, Hillary. Yeah, I try to make the rounds up and down New Scotland Ave on a regular basis and speak to the business owners. And as I'm sure you've heard or seen in the news, the businesses are starting to come back. And from what I'm seeing and hearing in my conversations, it's been a really positive few weeks here, especially with the weather improving, the expansion of the sidewalk dining in conjunction with the good weather. But one of the big challenges is that they are struggling to get workers. They are desperately looking to fill in their staffs. And as a result, it's a challenge because they're trying to welcome back all these customers, but at the same time, they're struggling to provide the level of service that people have come to expect and that they want to deliver. So I guess my message would just be, if you know anyone that's looking for a job, there's plenty of opportunities within our neighborhood businesses. And if you are someone who does enjoy going out to any of our local establishments, just exercise some patience and share that with others because, they want to do the best they can, but right now they're just a little hamstrung.
Dave, thanks for that update, for that perspective. That's really helpful information. So we're always trying to make a concerted effort to support our businesses. So thanks very much for playing that role. And that's great. Thank you. All right, just a couple of other quick announcements, and then we're going to pass the mic over to Officer McLean. Just one other quick voting piece of information. So 2 things in the chat for those of you online. I did put information for the Board of Elections. So if you do have any questions, you want to look up your polling location, etc., that website, phone number, all right there, and we'll provide that in future correspondence with the neighborhood. And then we also wanted to share that there's going to be a Meet the Candidates event that CANA, the Council of Albany Neighborhood Associations, will be holding in partnership with the League of Women Voters of Albany County, the NAACP Albany chapter. That's going to be on June 1st with Mayor Sheehan, Reverend Valerie Faust, and Miss Alicia Purdy at 6 p.m. So we'll be sure to publicize that information as well. But just wanted to put that out there, and I wanted to say thank you, CANA Chair Zach Simpson, for being here tonight and for sharing that information. So again, we'll get the details out to everyone, but a great event to keep on your radar. All right, one last shout out I wanted to give tonight. She couldn't make it, but we have a neighbor, Leslie Dykeman, who's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes for HNA, building our membership base, helping us get our data organized, and there'll be some recruitment efforts going on that she's really helping to drive. So I just wanted to give a thank you and a shout out to her. I did also post the website where you can go ahead and sign up for membership if you haven't already. And just let me just take one last moment to, oh geez, the little Zoom bars in my way. I can't see. Sorry about this. Just wanted to share just a quick snapshot. For those of you who aren't aware, we do have an annual membership on a rolling basis. It's a reasonable $5 a year for a household, or $10 for businesses. And for businesses, there's some free advertisement that's included in that. So I put that website in our link. You can also mail us a check or sign up online via PayPal. And I will also share Leslie's email address in the chat for anybody who has any questions. So thank you so much. And if we don't have any questions at this point, then I'm going to turn it over to Officer McLean. Officer Gordy, I think, are you on the line? Did we unmute you?
Yes, I'm here. Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks.
The past month has been pretty quiet. There's only been 8 total reported incidents, 2 of which were domestic related. 2 occurred at Parsons. 1 car larceny on Harris Avenue, which the vehicle was unlocked. And then I don't know if anybody has heard about this or not, but back Monday, May 10th, there were 2 victims that were shot at by a car going by paintballs while they were riding their bikes along New Scotland Ave about 8 o'clock on Monday the 10th. Both the victims, luckily no serious injuries, or just a little shaken up. Unknown vehicle. I know that detectives were working on it, trying to get some video from local businesses to see if they caught any of it. One occurred Fleetwood in New Scotland. The other one was down Ontario, New Scotland. Again, right around 8 o'clock at night last Monday. So if anybody saw anything suspicious or anything, you can let me know via email or call, text me later on. And other than that, I mean, like I said, it was 8 total incidents. Is kind of unheard of for the neighborhood. Things have been pretty quiet. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Officer Gordy. That's good news. Bad news, but good news. Dave, do you see any questions from anyone? Judy, it looks like Judy has a question.
Yeah, Judy's got her hand up.
Thank you. I also want to make people aware this is kind of on the cusp between the 9th Ward and the 10th Ward, and not directly within the Helderberg Neighborhood Association boundaries, but there have been some issues down at the basketball court. There appear to have been some people who shot BB guns that impacted 2 of the houses across the street on Woodlawn. And there have been a couple larcenies involving people meeting up to exchange, often a phone or something, and then people are robbed. So I think that there were some arrests in this, Officer McLean.
Yeah, I think you dealt with Matt Carey, and I think he told you they were juvenile related. So there's not much we can discuss about it. But yes, there were a couple of arrests made. And these incidents, I think, dated back to April, early April, some of them. and a lot of the incidents weren't reported. They were just spoken amongst neighbors. So that's the issue that we're dealing with. We don't know about it unless someone tells us.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to make people aware that's, people in that neck of the woods have found that disconcerting. And hopefully with the arrests that have been made, that kind of issue will cease. We still do have an issue with a lot of litter down there and some supervision needed.
We also, myself and Matt Carey well, I stayed late Monday night, spent some time down at the courts, and basically it was just kids playing basketball, a couple cars with loud music that were advised. But for the majority, it was younger kids playing basketball. Didn't seem to be any problems. And we've done special attentions for the other shifts to spend some more time. And I don't know if there's something that could be done, Parks and Rec, if they could put a gate up. And I know we have parks people who are here on the payroll for the city at night. Maybe they need to come around and start locking gates up or something if it continues to be a problem, if kids are playing basketball after hours.
Interesting.
So that's something I guess we can look at. I think we looked at it years ago and people complained about or didn't want to lose the park or have it locked up. But maybe that's something we have to look at to clear these crowds out at night.
I don't have anything more on that. If anybody has any questions.
Judy, if you wouldn't mind just lowering your hand, just so we know that the question's all set. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments on that topic? Okay, well, again, thank you for those updates and that context. That's very helpful and something we'll have to keep an eye on. So thank you both very much for that. All right, it looks like we're ready to move on. So I'm very excited to introduce, we have a couple of guest speakers with us tonight. Our first one is Frank Zioli, Deputy Commissioner, Public Affairs for the City of Albany Department of General Services. Hopefully many of you saw the recent announcement about the city's new composting program. So Frank, without further ado, please take it away.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me tonight to speak about this new program that we've just announced. It's been a long time in the making, but with 2020 and COVID, everything kind of came to a screeching halt, and we had to put a lot of plans on hold. But we're glad that we were able to get this out in time for the spring season to get things moving. So basically, a few years back, we applied for a grant from the DEC. And it is a food composting, food waste reduction, and food donation grant. So what we're doing, we received a $225,000 grant, the award from this grant, and we are able to get a few things started using it. The first being a backyard composting component. So what we've done is we've created 3 options for residents to backyard compost. It's important to remember that 20% of the waste that we have that goes to our landfill is food waste, which creates methane, and we need to get rid of that. So as a result of that, we created this program with 3 options. The first option is backyard composting. We will make available to you a backyard composting unit, a kitchen bin that you can keep in your kitchen and put the stuff in there and then bring it to the outside bin. And we will give you a bucket of, to start with, a brown material of wood chips to use. Also, give you the opportunity to refill them as you need to free of charge. We'll also give you the education that you need to do this properly and to make good compost. The second option is a food waste drop-off. So we've identified 2 locations in the city at this point. We're working on a third and a fourth location that we're hoping to have out in the near future. But the 2 locations, which are Radix and Civilly Preserved, they've already got areas of, they've already got a great drop-off program. So we've signed on with them where we will give you the kitchen bin. You can fill it up and bring it to the drop-off location whenever you need to. The third option is a full service option where we will connect you with one of two companies that are doing it in the area. One being Food Scraps 360. I see Diana's on the call, and we've got Radix, who we've partnered with for this as well. So we will introduce you to one of those two full service options where you would pay a fee. We will pay, the city of Albany will underwrite the cost of the setup with those two companies, okay, as part of this program. And then you would pay the companies for them to pick it up at your doorstep on a frequent basis, okay, depending on which you choose. So those are the three options as we laid them out. And so we are starting to lay some, starting to get some people set up with that. If you're interested in this program, go to albanyrecycles.com. And there is a section there where there's an introductory video which will explain to you exactly how this works, what your options are. So you can watch that, gives you a little bit more information, as well as all the information will be there on how to sign up, what to do. You can sign up right online. When you sign up for the backyard option or you sign up for the option for the drop off, you're asked to watch a video, which then will watch a video or look at a list of information, which then you'll take a quiz. And once you've done that, then we will contact you and get you your kit or get you your bin. So that's how anybody who wants to do it would get started. And if you have any questions, there's a lot of information on the website that explains, including brochures and such, that'll explain exactly what to do, what to do with compost, why to compost, what you should be looking for, when's the best time to do it, things of that nature. So anybody who's interested should take a look at the website and it'll explain it. Questions? No questions?
Actually, I have one.
Go ahead.
Why are there wood chips in the beginning? Is that part of the composting?
Yes. Yeah.
Process?
So
Okay.
it's a basic green brown combination. Your greens being your vegetables, your browns being things like sawdust, cardboard, and wood chip. And you put that in and you layer it. And we're giving you a composter. It's called an earth machine. It's a great way to do it in an urban setting. Okay. So it's a black, bullet looking thing that you put in the back of your backyard. It's got to be on grass. It's got to be on the ground. And you will layer it, and it's almost like a lasagna layer. Add a little, you'll put the brown material, green material, brown material, and you just keep layering it. And it takes
Oh,
about
Frank, we lost you. I'm not sure why.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody can hear me though, right?
Yep.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's a green and a brown mixture, and it's like almost like a lasagna, and you do it, and then it takes about 3 to 6 months to get compost out of this. But it's a really cool process. It's going to be very positive for people, and we'll have all the resources so when people have questions, you'll have somebody to call. So it's not like you're flying blind on it. We'll be there to help you. Anybody else?
Frank,
Yes.
if you said this, I might have missed it. But one of the great things about this program is that it will help extend the life of our landfill. And as you all know, our landfill is set to fill up, within the next few years. And then the city has to undergo the very expensive, look at what are we going to do with our trash? Do we develop a transfer facility? What do we truck it someplace else? All of those are very expensive options. And a huge amount of the waste that goes into the landfill is food waste. And again, Frank, I don't know if you said this, I might have missed it, but the food waste is also, it's a large percentage of what's in the landfill, but it also, as it decomposes, emits methane gas, which is really bad for the atmosphere. So a lot of us are really excited about this program that the city has, and we hope that people will take advantage of it, because it's a good idea for the environment, it's a good idea financially, et cetera. So thanks for to DGS and others involved. Tina Lieberman's here someplace. Tina's like the queen of the environment, and she's a real, I think, the person who really spearheaded this effort. But we've got a lot of other people on right now. Diana Wright. And Lynn Lukakis, as always, she's a big environmentalist. And who am I missing? I don't know. But anyway, it's a great thing. It's a big change for a lot of people to start composting their food, but it's really great on a lot of different levels. Thank you.
Well, Kathy, the one person that you're missing is yourself. So you have been
Not really.
you have been championing this for years, you know, as you're aware, and several others on the call are probably aware. I've been with the department for 24 years, and I've been involved in the recycling program for probably the past 15 years, and directly responsible. So I will tell you that, you know, you've brought it to many meetings, talked about that this is what you needed to do. You fostered this, and I'm glad that we were able to finally make it happen. So,
Thanks,
so
Brenda.
you're another one that should be on that list.
Thanks, Kathy. I think Diana has her hand up. And then Susan after her.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Frank, the videos, the educational videos that are on your website, are they able to be viewed by people before, or even if they don't choose to do composting, just so they can be educated by them, or are they only be able to be viewed if you're going to sign up?
No, absolutely. It's a great question. So there's one video that is really an introductory video. It's almost an infomercial on this program. People like to see visual more than they want to read a pamphlet. So we created one where, you know, introduction from the mayor, and you go into it and we explain what the problem is and why we're tackling this and why we're doing it. And these are the options in front of you. There is a how-to video, which really, it goes into basic composting, but it also is direct. It's a how-to of how to use this earth machine. Okay. And it is on our YouTube channel, which you can get to from the city's website. You can get to it from the neighborhood portal. But it's basically Department of General Services, if you look that on YouTube, and that is on there. If you going to Albany Recycles, it's not listed directly because it's usually sent out to people who have signed up for the program. It's like an automatic, but you can find it on the YouTube station. And it's really specific. I mean, it does talk about, like I said, general knowledge, but it's specific to using the earth machine, which is what we're giving everyone. But we're going to be working on others. There's other types of composting that we're going to be debuting a video and instructions on how to do. You know, and when we get into, you know, food reduction, and when we get into food donation, you know, we believe very heavily at DGS about, you know, things are more visual. The videos are important because people don't want to sit and read an entire brochure half the time. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have them. We do have them. We have to create, when we create a video, we have to create a brochure that has the same thing. We got to make sure all the stuff's on the website. It's like a threefold. So there will still be, for people who want to read it, there's still going to be that. So it is available. Yes.
Cool. Thanks.
Susan, you still have a question? Remember to unmute, Susan.
Yeah, Susan, we don't hear you. I think you gotta click on mute.
What Susan are you talking about?
There you go.
Oh, I don't know. Did we get the right Susan?
It sounds like a stupid question, but what happens over the winter when it's very cold in your backyard? Does this machine still keep working?
The compost pile will go dormant. It'll work a little bit, but really the pile will go dormant, but you can still add to it and do what you've got to do. And we've got the brochure that'll explain the best times to add stuff. We have a seasonal part of the brochure, and part of the website will talk about seasonal and some things to keep in mind on during the seasons.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I do have a question.
Diana has her hand
Diana,
up, I
go
believe.
ahead.
Just remember to unmute, Diana.
I would just wanted to answer that question further too. I know that Radix and our company Food Scraps 360 does do services for part of the season. I do have a lot of customers that only compost with me in the wintertime for that exact reason, so that they can keep their food scraps going. And then in the summertime, they stop so that they can do it in their backyard.
Good. So if there's no more questions on the compost, I just don't want to let this group go by without one other thing that on a DGS level that I'd like to mention. We created about a year ago, we created a neighborhood portal. It's a website. It's albanyneighborhoods.com, and it's a springboard for quality of life issues. It really was built for the neighborhood associations, is what it really was. It's a way for you to get information of things that are going on that neighbors want to know, quality of life issues. It's mainly a DGS page, but I believe hopefully in the future, we're going to see more stuff from other departments put on it that are quality of life based. From there, you can register for hazardous waste. From there, you can request somebody to come to a meeting. If you want a donation, you want to do a cleanup, that's where you do you request the tools and the tools and the bags. If you're looking for a donation of wood chip or something for a garden, that's where you're going to go. There's an FAQ section on a lot of the things that DGS does. There's a section for codes, all the codes that DGS is responsible for, and you can link to the website that links to those specific codes for all the information. There is quick links. There's a news section. You can sign up for email alerts. There's a news section. There's, you can connect to Facebook that way, the YouTube station that way. There's links to other websites. It's specific for neighborhoods. And one of the reasons why we built this is because we went to numerous neighborhood associations and they would say, we cannot find the information. The city's website is so large and so vast. We couldn't find the information very easy. We didn't know where to look. This is all on one page, and it will zip you to not even so much different pages on that particular site, but to other websites. It answers questions. There's, again, a huge FAQ section. And if you have questions that aren't on there, there's a place you hit a button, ask us the question, we'll email you back with the answer. And if it's a good question that other people might want to know, we'll add it to the FAQs. And the best part about some of the, where you hit buttons to ask us questions stuff, it goes directly to the person who's going to answer the question. It doesn't get lost. And that's part of what this does by using it. So I ask everybody, check it out, albanyneighborhoods.com. Give us your feedback. Again, it was built specifically for the neighborhood groups. It's for everybody, but it was built with you in mind. So.
Tina Lieberman, do you have a question?
Just a quick comment. So Frank mentioned all the different kinds of browns that you could mix in, and I just wanted to let people know that dried leaves, dead leaves in the fall are a brown that you can gather as you rake and put into like if you make a wire bin or something in your backyard next to your composter, and then you'll have those to use. You could layer those into, and wood chips are definitely a great option as well. But if you have access to leaves, that's an easy one also. So just letting people know. Straw is another one. Chopped straw is good.
That's all lays out in our materials that you can use those items. But we are providing free wood chip that are perfect sizes for this process. Because one of the things that we don't want to happen, and one of the reasons I think that this was delayed for so many years in doing it, is that if it's done wrong, your neighbors are going to be all over you. And the way that the neighbors people are today, don't expect it to be pleasant when they come to you and say the smell is getting into their house because you're doing it wrong, or the rodents are getting into your house because you're doing it wrong. And so because of that, we had to find a way that we can contain this. And that's why we're giving a machine that actually is quite costly, but the city's paying for it with help with this grant. And we're giving it so that we can mitigate some of that. And I think, and the way that we're handing them out and we're doing on-site, when people sign up, they're going to get an on-site tutorial on how to use it. So we do the videos and things of that nature, but yes, there is the stuff that leaves are allowed. So is straw. They're part of the brown material list that you'll receive information on. But again, we also are giving the good wood chips. We have a special spot. You come down to DGS free of charge. You're given a container, fill it up, and you can get them as often as you need to.
And Frank, just one quick follow-up question. It sounds like these are portable machines. If you're a renter, for example, you should be able to just pack it up when you leave, as long as you have access to outdoor space.
That's true. We are going to ask that you let us know that you're doing that at least within a 6 to 8 month period, a year period, because we're trying to get some data is what we're trying to do. So we would ask anybody, it's part of what you'll sign off on when you receive your bin, that if you were to move to another location, yes, you can take it with you. It's yours, but it's yours to use, you know, because these things, they retail for over $100. We don't want somebody saying, huh, I can't use it, but my sister who lives in another city could use it. No, you have to say you're using it. We can check up on you at any time. This is all part of what you'll have to be told, you know, you'll have to kind of sign off on when you get it. And the purpose for that is that, again, everybody, you know, we want the city of Albany residents to benefit from this. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing it. So.
And with your data collection, do you anticipate being able to see if there's a measurable difference in terms of that 20% a year?
We're hoping,
throughout?
yeah, we're hoping. That's the idea. And, you know, working with Radix and partnering with Radix and working with Foodstraps 360, and, you know, working with Tivoli Preserve as well, we're able to figure out what is being dropped off there. Because even if it's not through our program, it's still diverted in the city of Albany, you know, so we can, because we're going to have separate bins. So we're going to ask people when you put it in, make sure, you know, because obviously places like Radix and places like Tivoli are going to have drop off that may come from outside of the city. You were going to ask, there's going to be plenty of signage that's going to say, if you're a city of Albany resident, put it in this bin, whether it comes from us, whether it comes from it, but that'll be diversion for us to be able to figure out based on, you know, what's going into the landfill to that and see what you can do. 20% is an awful lot to make up. You know, it's not going to be easy. It could be many, many years, could be decades before you cut that number down and even in half. But I think that this is a good first start. Within the first 2 weeks, we had over 200 people sign up for one of the combinations of the three. So within the first week and a half to 2 weeks, I mean, so people are excited. I think it's going to be a great program. I think it's going to grow. There's going to be other items that we are going to be doing as far as composting goes, different types of styles of composting, as well as other things with food reduction and food donation. So stay tuned. Always be checking the Albany Recycles, albanyrecycles.com. Check that, check that site, and you'll be able to get the information that you need.
Great. Wow. Thank you, Frank. This is wonderful information. And thank you, Luke's been putting these links as we've gone along in the chat. And we'll, HNA will make a concerted effort as well to monitor, to share these links, the videos, et cetera, and kind of make people aware as we see new information coming out. And Frank, don't hesitate to keep us posted if there's information we can continue to help distribute. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Okay, wonderful. Well, switching gears, but only a little bit. As we know, we're very excited for our next speaker on a similar topic, Tina Liberman, Chair of the City of Albany Sustainable Advisory Committee. And also Tina has with her Diana Wright and Morgan Talbot from Food Scraps 360. And these folks are also volunteers, members of the Zero Waste Capital District and the Zero Waste Education Subcommittee for the City Sustainable Advisory Committee. And I will, in a future meeting, we'll also invite Radix so everyone gets all, the full span of these different services that are being offered. But Tina, thank you so much. Please take it away.
Good. Hi. Well, a very, very exciting program, the composting program for Albany. And the website is absolutely gorgeous if you haven't seen it yet. And there's a lot of great information there. So definitely visit and look at the compost section of albanyrecycles.com. So I'm here to give the rounded off version of the grant that we got, which is all about food waste reduction and why it's so important to reduce food waste at every step of the way that we can, and composting being that last step when there's no other way. We just got the food scraps. What do you do with them? And instead of putting them in the landfill, you would compost them and turn them into a rich soil fertilizer. So I have, I wanted to put in the chat a link to a form that the Albany City Sustainability Advisory Committee has online. And we have lots of information about other things also besides composting. We are also always looking for volunteers, but we have 7 subcommittees. Zero Waste Education is one of them, which also feeds into Zero Waste Capital District. We also have an energy subcommittee. We have urban agriculture. We have transportation. We have water. We have environmental equity. So if Hillary, I'm going to put this in the chat for you, maybe you could share it,
You
okay?
got it, Tina. Thank you.
All right, good. So there's a form online. You can ask us also, so you can sign up to volunteer. You can ask us for more information. How do I sign up for community solar? What subsidies are there available to make my home more energy efficient? We can give you all that information. If your hot water heater your gas hot water heater dies, we have heat pump electric water heaters to recommend to you with good subsidies right now through Heat Smart Capital Region. Same thing with heating and cooling options for your home. So we're encouraging people to switch off of gas, switch off of oil if very few people still have that in the city, and move into electricity. There's some wonderful high efficiency options available, and greening your energy supply. Right now, community solar is a great way to do that, and also get 10% off the electricity portion of your bill. And eventually we hope to do our community choice aggregation program, which will also be a very competitive rate for 100% renewable energy. That'll be through National Grid. So we're working on that. Kathy knows about that. All right, so I wanted to move on and talk to you about food waste reduction. And I do have a PowerPoint to share. Diane is here, Diana Wright, and she'll be chiming in and also monitoring the chat for questions and for comments. I might throw a few poll questions at you and you'd put the answers into the chat. And if you have any questions for her as well as for me. And I don't know, is Morgan here?
I think that she's busy at the moment.
Okay, so Diana and I we'll take it away. All right, so let me share my screen. The host will have to enable me to do screen sharing.
Okay, Morgan, is that something, our APL Morgan, looks like we have a few, is that something you'd be able to adjust? Sorry, Tina, I didn't realize that.
That's all right.
I'm trying to figure it out right now.
Thank you. And Tina, if you want to shoot me an email with the attachment as a backup, just in case.
Ah, what a good
Lesson
idea.
learned next time.
That is a very good idea. Okay, hang on there.
If I made her a host temporarily, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do
Safe.
that. All right, that's all set.
Okay, great. I'm not going to Zoom bomb you, I promise. Okay, hang in there. Move you guys out of the way. Okay. I'll see that. So what we'll be talking about is food waste and you, strategies to save food, save money, and save the planet. Because by saving food, we do a lot for the environment and for ourselves as well. So we're going to start with a little video called The Story of Strawberry. May not be sharing my, hang in there. I bet you I didn't share my sound. Second. Back out to all of you. Second, as I share. Okay, that should work a lot better for a video. There you go. go, honey.
Please?
Okay. So I'm going to share again, but that the story of those strawberries is something I think we've all experienced. I know I have. It's all too common. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. That one. Okay, there we go. Do y'all see the screen?
I think we see your notes.
You see the notes. Okay, that's not
There we
good.
go. You just got to move it down lower. Yeah, up to 40%
Okay.
of all food grown. Yeah.
You're not supposed to see the okay. All right.
There you go. You brought it down low enough.
Yeah, but
All
then
right.
you can't see it.
Yeah, but then I can't see it, right? So it's like it's like I should be able to share and see my notes, which would be helpful, not 100% necessary. So
Yeah, it seems to not be in the right mode.
all right, let me try this one more time. Let's see if I can do this.
There.
Try. Okay, now do you still see my notes?
Yes.
Ah, that's a drag.
Because you did it in preview. You got to not do it in preview, I think.
Oh, okay, so try one more time. All right, Diana, help me out here. So that's presentation mode.
Okay. Presentation should be good. There we
Yeah,
go.
but I don't get to see my notes. It's great. Great
Oh.
for you guys.
You can't see your
All
notes.
right. Past that, there we go. So up to 40% of all the food grown and processed and transported in the United States is wasted. That's a huge number. And that it's a little overwhelming to think about that, but the good part about that is that it means that we can all do something about it. So I'm going to ask you a quick question, and Diana's going to monitor the chat for me. But of that 40% of food that's grown, that's wasted, how much do you think occurs in our households? So if you could put some numbers in the chat about what you think. Do you think it's 25% of that 40% is wasted in our households? 50%, 75%? Because there's also supermarkets, there's the farms. So what do you guys think? What are some of the numbers coming up?
75% is one guess. 85% is another guess.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? 90%.
Wow.
45%.
5%.
And I've seen this before and I don't remember what the answer is.
Okay, well, here's the answer. So of that amount of food of waste that's generated, 43% is in the home. That's the majority, the yellow part of this circle here. So again, what that tells us is that we have a lot of power to reduce food waste all across what we do with food, from the way we buy it, the way we plan about shopping, to how we store it, to how we cook it, to what we do with the food scraps. So a lot of people are very surprised to see that restaurants, farms, supermarkets, they're not the majority of the wasters. We are. Plus, not to mention that we waste the food, but for a family of 4, the amount of food that's wasted is about $1,500 worth of food. And I'm sure we can all think of better ways to spend that $1,500 than throwing it into our trash cans. And that looking at the big picture of food waste, it's so much more than just throwing the food out, right? Think about all along the line of production of food. There's fossil fuels that go into making the food, from the trucking and the farming equipment, and fertilizer. Then there's the water, which is used, which is precious commodity now.
And the plastic containers that they're shipped in.
The plastic, which are made of fossil fuels. So there's that too. There's the money that goes into the farming and the packaging and the transportation and the labor that's involved in it. And all the people who are making this happen, again, goes all down the line from the farmers, workers, truckers, the grocers, the supermarkets. It's a huge long line. Plus there's the nutrients. So the nutrients in our topsoil is a finite resource. And what we're doing when we waste food is we're taking that finite resource out of where it's useful, and we're putting it into a toxic landfill where it can no longer be used, it can no longer be available to us. And we know that we're losing our topsoil around the world, here in the United States and around the world. And we're not replenishing topsoil like we need to. And the best way to do that is to put those nutrients back in the soil where they belong. Plus, you have the situation of food waste in a landfill generating, as Kathy and as Frank said, generates a very potent greenhouse gas called methane when it decomposes without oxygen. Methane is 86 times more powerful at heating our planet than carbon is, than carbon dioxide is in the first 20 years. So that's a huge thing for us to be reducing. And what I'm basically telling you is we have the power to do it. And if food waste were a country, it would be the 3rd largest greenhouse gas emitter as a country. Take a guess as to the first 2 largest greenhouse gas emitting countries.
Us?
Yep, the United States is one and China is the other. The United States is the most per capita. There's also a program, maybe some of you have heard of it, it's a not-for-profit called Project Drawdown, and they have a wonderful book in which they list the top 100 things we can do to draw down carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, draw down the greenhouse gases, and stop climate change. And out of 100 things, preventing food waste is number 3. It's one of the top 3 things you can do to personally address climate change. And the top 1 is reducing hydrofluorocarbon refrigerants. And the second most impactful thing to do is building more wind turbines. So another poll question for you. Just quick yes or no. How many of you knew before this presentation that food waste in a landfill generates methane, a potent greenhouse gas? Maybe Diana can read those out. Yeses, nos. Did people know about this before?
Yes. 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 So the 3 people who responded did. The ones
mostly
that
yeses.
Responded are either embarrassed or they don't want to answer.
I usually actually have gotten about 6 out of 10 people did not know that before. So what can we do? Let's take a look at the different stages of how we deal with food. Let's look at the store. What can we do to reduce food waste? At home, what can we do? And at the curb. So at the store, what we recommend is that you make a weekly meal plan and a list, and consider scheduling a leftovers night, a lazy night, when you're just using leftovers from the refrigerator. When you plan a meal, consider how you can use the ingredients for that meal in another meal that you're planning for that week, so that you're not only buying ingredients for one kind of meal and then the leftovers are just sitting around. Use ingredients more than one. So if you have that leftover can of tomato sauce, or think about what else that week you're going to be able to use it for. For me, there's always that half a container of ricotta cheese, that I only get through half a container and have to figure out what to do with the other one so that it doesn't go to waste. And this one I think is really valuable. Shop your kitchen first. I don't know about you guys, but I forget a lot about a lot of what I have right on hand. And often I can make numerous meals from what I have on hand. And if I look at it first, then it helps me to know that there's really much less that I need to go out and buy. Other things is only buy what you need. Watch out for those sales that you'll see, because a lot of times you're just going to end up buying more than you'll actually use. Other ideas is don't go to stores hungry, and buy the ugly food. Don't be afraid, just because it looks a little strange, like some of these carrots, they still taste just as good. And if we don't buy them, they otherwise might end up as going into the garbage. Although the supermarkets are actually starting January 1st, large scale producers of food waste will have to either donate them or compost if there's a facility within 25 miles that can take their food scraps. And think about how we store food too. Where is food best stored? Fridge, the freezer, or the counter? So for example, avocados you would leave on your counter, but then if they start to get too ripe, you put them into your fridge. A lot of people also take herbs, parsley, dill, and they put them into a jar of water and either keep them on the counter or put them in the fridge. They last longer that way. Also, an Eat Me First bin. There was a picture of it, one of the other slides. So that's something that I've started doing. It's really helpful to have one of those in your refrigerator. You can put all the half-filled jars or containers, little scraps of things that you incorporate into your next salad or your next soup, or and that's very helpful. And also the refrigerator itself. There are places in the refrigerator that are better for some things than others. So what you put on the door, the door is your warmest area. So you don't want to put your milks there. You don't want to put your meats, fishes, tree there. Save that for things that don't have to be the coldest. And also for your vegetables, they like a high humidity drawer, and most fruits like low humidity. And also use your freezer. You can put that leftover tomato sauce into a glass jar, just leave a little room at the top so for expansion, and you can freeze it just another time. Then also consider how you cook and the recipes you use. So we really ask people to think about how to use leftovers in creative ways by incorporating things into like a scramble or a stir fry. Hero recipes are recipes like there's a lot of leftovers like soups or stews. Example here is leftover stale bread can be made into croutons, or like certain like crackers like crostini. So that's also very, very helpful. Consider eating root to stem. A lot of people in other presentations I've given will save the roots from, the stems from the carrots and other vegetables, put them into a cheesecloth and use them to make a vegetable broth that they can then use. And consider portion sizes. So instead of giving out food on a plate where it might be too much for the people, let people make their own plates, their own portions. Another thing to be aware of is expiration dates. Expiration dates, believe it or not, they're not federally regulated. Only the ones for infant formula and baby food are. Everything else is the manufacturer's best guess as to when the food would be freshest. So everything else is pretty much a suggestion. So the idea is rely on your senses, look at it, smell it, and then make a decision. But all those used by, best by, manufactured on, best if used by, those are all suggestions. And then at the curb. So the other part of reducing food waste is if you have extra food, donate it. We have numerous food pantries in the Capital District, and if you go to the website for the food pantries for the Capital District, there's a wonderful map there. You could see where you could put in your address, and you could see where the nearest food pantry is to you, where you can donate food. There are also free food fridges now in Albany. I don't know if any of you have seen those. There's one outside the Radix Center. There's another one on Lark Street, and you can just put food there. Also near Radix Center is the Children's Cafe, the South End Children's Cafe, and they have a cupboard that you can always put food into. And then there's always neighbors, friends, and family to give extra food to, so it doesn't have to go into the landfill, or hopefully, or even into your compost pile. And then we'll talk about composting. So as Frank was saying, now Albany composts, and you get your choice of 3 ways to compost, and we strongly encourage you to pick one of those 3 ways. So either you do the backyard composting, where you're actually doing it yourself, and you will get the free backyard composter and the kitchen container and education. There's the community compost drop-off sites right now, and you also get a free kitchen container when you sign up for that. And the Radix Center and Tivoli Preserve are our 2 open drop-off sites right now, and Albany Victory Gardens is still being worked on. And Diane is also, I believe, going to be trying to get another drop-off site up and running as part of Food Scraps 360. And also the 2 paid pickup services. You would get a free kitchen container to start you off, and that the 2 businesses that you would choose that would do Food Scraps pickup at your doorstep would be Radix or Food Scraps 360. And just to let you know, there are other communities that are doing this right now. So it's really wonderful to see this effort spreading throughout the Capital Region. There is community composting in Troy. There's drop off at the Troy Farmers Market and every Saturday at the Atrium. There's community composting in Amsterdam, New York. And recently Zero Waste Capital District we're basically volunteering and doing a Food Scraps drop off location at the Colony Farmers Market at the Crossings every Saturday morning. And I'm in conversations with Schenectady, and they'll also be looking at starting a community composting program. Very exciting stuff. And I think we already talked about that. And my 3rd poll question is, do you compost now? Yes or no? Are you doing any composting now? Yes or no?
No, no, yes.
All right, great. Anyone answering no, please.
yet.
Please join. Good, not yet. All right, but soon, hopefully. I did want to mention that Food Scraps 360 and the Zero Waste Education Subcommittee of the Sustainability Committee will be co-hosting a film screening and panel discussion Wednesday, June 2nd at 7 p.m. And the film that we're asking people to watch beforehand is Kiss the Ground. And it really is an amazing, eye-opening look into the importance of our soil and the importance of rejuvenating our soil and not taking all the nutrients out of it, but putting them back in for our own survival, as well as to protect the planet and the climate. So we have an amazing panel discussion. It will, again, June 2nd at 7 p.m. We'll have experts from around the capital region to talk about what's going on to jumpstart waste reduction and composting, including Sunny Von Tiedemann, who's the recycling specialist of Albany, who's been working very, very hard to put this composting program together. And as you can see, we also have Christine Ellsworth from the DEC. We have Dan Rain from Bethlehem. We have the Deputy Mayor of Troy and Heather Ibsen from Schenectady, and Mark Warford, Vice Principal of Bethlehem Middle School. They have a school composting program and have had one for many years now. Really wonderful pilot program. And this is information. So basically, Albany Compost, you already have that website. There's zerowastecd.org, a zero waste capital district, which is also serves as the Zero Waste Education Subcommittee, the city. And just all the different ways you can contact us, as well as how to contact the Sustainability Advisory Committee. And I can make this PowerPoint available to Hillary to send around. And these are just additional resources. Oh, went too far. Last question. So now that you've seen all this, what are you going to do to reduce food waste? But which of these ideas seem like something you're going to latch onto and go with? Can you put some of those ideas in the chat? Are you going to look at the way you shop, at the way you plan meals, at the way you store foods, composting?
No response
Generally-
yet. They're typing away. I hope.
All right, I think I can stop sharing.
Use first bin first is one person's thing to do.
Yeah, I love that one. I found that really helpful. Start organizing my refrigerator.
And I have found that you can put just about anything in eggs or soup or a salad, and leftovers taste way better than they did the first night. I love leftovers. I live for leftovers. There are no other responses.
All right, well, any questions or comments?
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry to interrupt, Tina. I'm just letting you know we're getting some inappropriate messages here. We're trying to monitor everything. There's a chance we may need to end early. We're trying to deal with it right now, but just need to let everybody know that. So,
Okay, I wonder where those are coming from.
yeah, we're
It's not me.
Okay, but in the meantime, let's carry on.
Nobody has any questions?
Yeah, any questions? And Diana, did you want to add anything about Food Scraps 360?
Just that we have a new website and we're growing, partnered with Morgan Talbot, who's got other things to do tonight, unfortunately. But yeah, we're doing a lot of commercial stuff. We're expanding into Troy and Delmar and Schenectady, and we're working with Radix so that we're able to cover everybody to the best of ability. We can do meat and dairy because we use the Bethlehem compost facility, and their windrows are much larger and heat to 185 degrees, which is what's needed so that the meat and dairy doesn't smell and attract critters and stuff. But yeah, we're growing really fast, and we're looking forward to working with the city of Albany and Troy and Schenectady to try to get as many people interested in composting and get the methane out of the atmosphere, because this is the easiest low-hanging fruit that we can do. If we can just get people to understand that not wasting food is a really easy thing to do, and we can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think it is important to mention that when you use the drop-off sites, as well as when you backyard compost, you don't want to put meat, fish or dairy in there. Because you're just not building up enough heat to break those things down easily, and because it could attract critters. So, but other than that, you really, as long as you're putting in enough browns, at least twice as many of the browns as you put in your fresh food scraps, you shouldn't have a problem. You have a lid with the earth machine. It's pretty self-contained, just needs that has some slits for air. And I've never had a problem. I've been using an earth machine for about 3 years.
Yeah, and eggshells and coffee grounds are really, really good.
Yep, and throw the coffee filters in. If you use unbleached napkins, throw those right in too. Those are fine. Unbleached napkins, unbleached paper towels. If you tear up uncoated paper plates, you can use those too. Just tear them up into little pieces. But we're always happy to answer questions. The city will be providing information, and we also will try to pair you up with a mentor if you want one. So you just let me know. We try to run a mentor program for first-time composters. Want a little help?
And did you already talk about volunteers for our zero waste things, the farmers markets and the different things that we do?
No, that's great. Thank you for reminding me. So we will be at 4 different farmers markets this season, explaining about the new composting program and also about some of the other initiatives that the Sustainability Advisory Committee can help people with. Mostly focused on the composting program and food waste reduction. We will be at least every other week at Western Avenue at the New Covenant Presbyterian Church at their farmers market, maybe going weekly if they have the space. We'll be every week at the Delaware Farmers Market, and we've already started at the South End Night Market. And then for July and August, we'll also be at the Washington Park Farmers Market. And yes, we can always use volunteers. So if anyone is interested in putting in an hour or two at one of our tables, just let me know.
Thank you, Tina. And if anybody else wants to volunteer afterwards, you can reach out to the HNA board and let us know, and we'll put you in touch with Tina as well. Okay.
Thank you. Right, we call you a zero waste ambassador. It's a lot of fun. You learn a lot, and you also people are really enthusiastic and very, very appreciative.
Thank you. So we're going to take this opportunity to move on.
I also forgot to mention that, I just wanted to mention one other thing, that Food Scraps 360 is working with the town of Bethlehem to provide the full 360 cycle, and that we're dropping off. We have bags of compost for sale that we can drop off to our customers.
Excellent. Thank you. So we're going to move on now into the next portion of our meeting. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to the next portion of our meeting. We're going to have some announcements from our local elected officials and our community representatives. So we're going to start with our county legislator, Lynn Lakakis. Lynn, let me make sure, go ahead. Do you have some updates?
I need to unmute myself.
There you go.
Okay, here we go. It's so unusual to be going first. I did just want to say that I am an avid composter, and I am what I like to call a garbage redirector, which means that I pick things out of the garbage and bring them over to the Salvation Army or the Goodwill or the local places. And if anybody needs any help, I do also avidly, I have a lot of different kinds of composters if you want to come and scope them out and check them out. Anyway, as far as county stuff goes, I just wanted to let you know that we are moving forward with the 911 Communications Center, which is going to be out in Clarksville. It originally was planned for the airport area, but they've moved it, and we did some bonding earlier in the month. So we'll be moving forward with that. We also declared that Juneteenth is a county holiday, and I'm quite proud of this. We did pass legislation on the 10th that to bring all the people that work for the county up to $15 an hour living wage. There were 62 people who did not make that much. And so now that's going to be a change that's going to be moved in, and that's pretty exciting. I did want to say that we are always looking for help. It seems to be always dispatchers are always needed for the 911. Nursing home always needs the CNAs, the nursing assistants. And I did notice also that on Delaware Avenue, many of the merchants and restaurants are also looking for help. So if you do know of anybody who is needing employment, it seems like there's a lot of things opening up right now that COVID is opening up. Other than that, I'm gonna leave it for the city people who have a lot to tell you too.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Lynn. Really appreciate that. Did anybody have any questions for Lynn? Excellent. We're going to move on to Councilmember Judy Duche.
Thank you very much. I want to note first, if anybody knows of anybody who needs some electronics or hazardous waste taken out to the landfill, I do have extra room in my car for my trip. I'm going at 4 o'clock tomorrow. I've already taken some stuff from a senior. I've offered it to a number of people, but I do have some additional space, and I'd love to hook up with me or through Hillary if you know of anybody. Hillary's made me aware of the fact that some questions and issues have been raised with regard to lighting on New Scotland Avenue, and while HNA wants to take it up in July, I'm aware of the fact that our LED conversion, our streetlight purchase and LED conversion is in the process of wrapping up. So I didn't want to wait to mention that until July, because hopefully the project will essentially be done at that point. I did reach out to the person in charge of that project and let them know that some concerns have been raised with regard to the brightness of lighting. I do want to make sure that we don't overdo it. So if people, could let me know one way or the other how they feel about the lighting along New Scotland Avenue outside of our commercial strip. I'd love to get some feedback, additional feedback on that, so I can provide it to that person. We do have the ability in some cases to adjust, control the amount of light being emitted, and if the current heads that have been installed are not bright enough, then we can potentially replace the heads. But that may be a little bit more challenging to do, but I will be working on that, especially, and would really appreciate any feedback. I have also been making the city aware ever since we talked about purchasing streetlights that there are a number of poles along New Scotland Avenue that are rusting and tilted and really need replacement. And I've been pushing that. I've been surprised that they haven't taken care of it yet, because actually some of you may recall about 6 years ago, 2 fell in front of the fountain out of nowhere. So it does present a hazard, and I've stressed that this is an area in which students walk. I've been made aware of the fact, Hillary has let me know that people are interested in decorative light posts. Those are generally a lot more expensive than the other light posts, but I have asked for the person in charge of that project to let me know if that might be viable. The biggest potential challenge is decorative light posts usually have underground wiring, and so that involves reconstruction of sidewalks and different wiring. So I'm a little less optimistic about that. I do want to remind people that the rest of the area, some of the areas that are being talked about, are not zoned for commercial. So that's one of the reasons why it's essentially zoned neighborhood edge or residential, and that would be one of the reasons why there wouldn't have been stronger lighting in that particular area. You might have noticed that we're making a lot of progress on growing grass in Woodlawn Park. I have a lot of people to thank. I will be sending out some updates in which I'm listing everybody because I don't want to leave anybody out right now. But I do want to say a special thank you to Hillary, who's been helping with the watering. And also I do think it's important for everybody to know that both of the candidates seeking to replace me on the Common Council have been out there raking, moving soil, and helping plant grass seed, and that has been very much appreciated. As many of you know, the city had a police reform collaborative work group. They issued their recommendations to the Common Council in the beginning of February. Those recommendations, that report and all of the recommendations in it, the mayor asked us to adopt. Last year when we had the George Floyd issue and there were demonstrations and people were very upset about the use of tear gas and rubber bullets. And I heard from a lot of residents in my ward and elsewhere at that time asking us to demilitarize the police, ban tear gas and rubber bullets. And that also appeared in the recommendations of the Reform Collaborative. I have introduced legislation, as many of you probably are aware from reading the newspaper or watching the news, to actually ban the use of tear gas and rubber bullets. One of the issues was that it was used in neighborhoods, and the tear gas not only affected the people who were protesting, the people who were misbehaving protesting, but the people who were protesting peacefully, but also people who had nothing to do with the protests that were in their homes and it went into their windows and they were affected, and including households with young children. So that's all part of the reason why I have introduced this legislation, and I've been working to try and get it passed. I want to mention that the city is in line to get $85 million from the Rescue Act, the Federal Rescue Act. I want to make it real clear, it would be really nice to be able to pocket away some of that money for rainy day funds. We can replenish money that was spent on COVID issues or because of lost revenues. And so we can replenish our rainy day fund, but we have to use the money in COVID related activities. So we can't now then just take that money, and it is supposed to last 4 years, help us for 4 years. The mayor has created a task force with about 40 members on it. They are meeting, and their current assignment is to help identify what the needs are. One of the challenges here is that we have the school district haven't been given money, the county haven't been given money. We have the federal government is funding substantial rent relief programs. And so while we can say, oh, use it for rent relief, well, that might not be the most obvious, or use it for small businesses, that might not be the most obvious or the correct use of it, because individuals and businesses have access to other funding mechanisms. So I am interested in hearing from constituents about what you do think are the priority needs, or especially if you think that anybody or any situation is falling through the cracks with all of the programming that has been offered at this point. I'm on the planning committee along with Kathy Fahey, and she's the chair of the planning committee, and we're doing major work we're finally getting around to our 6-month review of the USDO that was adopted 4 years ago. I'm enjoying working with the group and Brad Glass and his team in trying to correct some of the mistakes that we made and make tweaks that make a little bit more sense, add some clarity. A lot of it is adding clarity and arranging it so it's more user-friendly, and Kathy can talk more about that. I'm glad to take any questions. I feel like there's a gazillion things I could talk about, but those are the key items. If there are no questions, I guess we can go to Kathy.
Thank you, Councilwoman Duche. Kathy Fahey?
Hey, hello, everybody. Judy's mentioned quite a few of the things that we've been up to. And I do want to point out that our work on our zoning ordinance, and Judy has put in a tremendous amount of time into it. She's a person who really gets into the details in a very big way. And we're going to end up with amendments to the zoning code that are, it's been very thoroughly looked at. And I think we did a lot of the technical amendments earlier, and that was passed by the council. And now we're looking at more substantial amendments. And there may be some issues as we go along, Judy, and I was just really thinking about this, that we may be trying to get the word out more to the public. I mean, one of the things about the pandemic, we've been doing all our meetings, committee meetings, council meetings, caucuses. They're all being done, and they're on the internet, and they're saved. These meetings are saved on the city website, and you can get them on Facebook. And that's been a real plus, I think, for the public, because if you find an issue later on that you're interested in, you want to know, well, what did they say about that? Well, you really can get that information very easily now, whereas before it was a little more difficult to find out, what was said in various meetings. So anyway, again, we're reviewing the USDO, the zoning code, and we're trying to make it an even better law than it is currently. And Judy went into, the city is getting the $85 million from the American Rescue Plan. And we want to make sure that that funding is distributed very strategically and equitably. I'm just going to jump now to the Lincoln Park. I mean, I know Lincoln Park's a little further east of our neighborhood, but it is part of the 7th Ward. And we did do the Lincoln Park Master Plan. That was a draft plan. And they are beginning to develop that plan further as far as basketball courts further east of in the Lincoln Park. And then there will be, I've been told that there will be more meetings with the public to kind of finalize a lot of the design, because up in the western part of the park, which is closer to the Helderberg neighborhood, there's plans for an amphitheater and walking trails and so on. All these came out of the draft Lincoln Park Master Plan earlier meetings a couple of years ago. So they're going to have start doing final designs of this plan. So I hope you'll all consider being part of that. Because one of the things we've talked about on the council is Washington Park. I mean, we absolutely love Washington Park, but there's discussion about how Washington Park can be overused. And we really should, utilize Lincoln Park more. So this master plan will, develop that to an extent. A lot of you have heard about the controversy, read about the controversy with lights in the park. That's being closely looked at. A lot of the folks who live in and around there feel like, the funding for lights in the park is very important. It goes towards important youth programs that PAL runs, but it's been very impactful to people living in the area. So that's an issue that we're all looking at. Other things, let's see, we are going to be discussing fair housing legislation. We've already started actually to firm up our ROP, residential occupancy permit program for rentals. And you may have heard of the phrase good cause eviction. There's legislation that tries to address the kind of bad actors that we have with some of our landlords, and it focuses on in some cases, landlords will be retaliatory against tenants for, say, bringing code violations to the city's attention. So there's some legislation that tries to address that. Those are some of the things that we've been discussing. And I should just point out, as far as our Department of General Services, they're doing major cleanup efforts. Any groups that want to do cleanups, they're very anxious to get out there. And we're trying to, after the pandemic, it's kind of an all hands on deck cleanup effort. There's also going to be a big effort to go through the city and address code violations as well. So I guess I'll end it there. Really a lot going on in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Does anybody have any questions for Councilmember Fahey? Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to Michelina. Michelina is the
I think
director.
Glenn Humphreys might be trying to say something. I'm not sure. You're
sorry.
muted, Glenn. There you go.
Kathy and Judy.
Yep, we can hear you.
This is sort of talked about by Tina, but I'm tired of answering the doorbell and having somebody ask me to see my National Grid bill. I thought at one time, a couple of years ago, one of these meetings, that the city was going to come out with a recommendation as to which provider for solar energy was the one that we should hook on with. Is that not the case?
That was the community choice aggregation program, Glenn. We did pass a local law that would allow the city to enter into that kind of program. But what happened was that it became financially unfeasible. And we're hoping that things change so that we can enter into that kind of program where, it will be reduced costs to the residents of the city of Albany, and also we'd be able to provide greener energy. But at this point, it's not, the community choice aggregation program isn't financially beneficial. So we decided that we couldn't enter into it at this point. Tina, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, okay, good. I'm unmuted. Yeah, I would just add, Glenn, that those energy supply companies, because you'd be signing on as an individual, you're not going to get a great rate for your electricity, although they could offer you 100% green energy, right? Renewable energy. But what you can do instead now, and you will be able to continue it in addition to when we launch our community choice aggregation, is sign up for community solar. Go to solarizealbany.org. Solarize Albany is a not-for-profit. They vetted community solar subscription plans and companies, and you can sign on there with Common Energy was the one that they vetted and chose. And eventually I am working on trying to get a link just for Albany residents to sign on. And that could create a funding stream for some sustainability initiatives as well, because they kind of give a finder's fee. So I would go to solarizealbany.org. Common Energy's been good. I signed on and used them, and you will get a 10% reduction on the electricity portion of your bill. But because consolidated billing is still being worked on by National Grid and the Public Service Commission, even though it's been approved, you will get two separate bills. You'll get your National Grid bill and you'll get your community solar bill. community solar, you don't have panels on your rooftop or anything, you're just off taking solar energy from a not, fairly close solar farm. And so you will get two bills, and you will need to give the community solar company either a credit card or your bank account information so that they can bill you directly. If you give them a credit card, that will be 3% or 4% surcharge. So you only get like a 6% discount. So I wasn't too happy about it, but I did give them my charge account, my banking account, and everything has been fine. And I do get my 10% credit. So just to let you know how that works. For now, eventually consolidated billing, there will be one bill for that through National Grid.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you, and thank you, Glenn, for that question. Appreciate it. I'm going to turn it over to Michelina. Michelina, excuse me, is with Assembly Member Pat Fahey. And Michelina, would you like to go ahead and give some updates?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for sharing incredible information. This is my first time being with you all here. So I recognize some faces, but for folks that I haven't met yet, nice to meet you virtually, and looking forward to seeing you all in person at some point soon. So Assemblywoman Fahey is very sorry she isn't able to make it, but of course she sends her best, and I just have some information to share on her end. So with regard to just kind of like community affairs related things, I want to flag for you all the discount of up to $50 per month for broadband service for eligible individuals. So this is part of the emergency broadband access plan that is part of federal legislation, and then the eligibility surrounding that includes individuals at or below 135% of the federal poverty guidelines. And so that's information that we absolutely want to circulate for folks that are in need. I've noticed I'm unable to chat with everybody, but I can also send that information along to the board at some point. Hopefully they're able to circulate that, so if that works. And then in addition, I know Kathy and Judy have mentioned this as well, but in regards to the American Rescue Plan, we're following that closely to see how there might be emergency assistance for small landlords and for landlords and small businesses. And so any updates that we have, we will share as an office, and then I'll also happily share my contact information for folks that might be interested in applying or need assistance in applying. Then the OTDA is going to be launching an emergency rental assistance plan this coming month. It's called the ERAP, the Emergency Rental Assistance Plan, and it's a lot more expansive than previous eviction moratoriums. And so it goes on to offer a lot of different protections to both tenants and landlords. So that's information. Right now they do have an eligibility list on their website, but they'll be launching more of the application information, hopefully by the end of this month. And so happy to keep you all updated on that as well. So then with session, there's 12 session days left, so 3 weeks more or less. And just to very briefly touch on some of the work that Pat has been doing, some of the priority bills she has this session include Fair Repair, or the Digital Right to Repair Act, which requires original equipment manufacturers from products anywhere from phones to TVs, farming machinery, or heavy duty equipment to provide diagnostic and repair information to the consumers, removing the middleman of the manufacturer and empowering the consumer to have the necessary information that they need to repair their own products. This is a very exciting bill, as it would naturally eliminate a lot of technological waste and save consumers money. And then there's also a lot of other bills that relate to the environment, which I know has been a topic that we focused on quite a bit this evening, from making public fleets, so statewide public fleets, electric vehicles, to making school buses electric vehicles, and then child safety zones, which would expand the definition of what areas are designated child safety zones to also include areas with abandoned houses, as well as areas with higher violent crime statistics. And so that's been the priority in the office in the past few weeks, and so we hope to end session on a strong note. And so I also just wanted to say, as a random side note, I am a volunteer and a board member at the Friends of Tivoli Lake and Preserve Inc. And so I'm super, super excited to hear about all the composting efforts. I can honestly say that I've never been more excited about trying to eliminate my household waste. So that was really fun to learn about. And then also, again, I was just going to offer my contact information. I just started 3 weeks ago. And so we're really hoping with the addition of my position as Director of Community Affairs to expand out on community affairs related assistance as well as constituent services. And so always here to support constituents, you know, with anything. We do a lot of work with unemployment related issues, DMV related issues, housing, but happy to help folks, especially with all of these COVID related applications that are coming out nowadays. So I will share my contact information with the board, and then hopefully that'll circulate. But thank you all, and I'll pass it back along to Chris and Hillary.
Thank you, Michelina. I really appreciate that. We are also going to ask Mr. Joe and Jemmy to see if he has any updates. He's with the Albany Community Policing Advisory Committee. Joe, did you have any updates that you wanted to share with us?
Yes, I do. Actually, I'll try to be a little brief though. The ACPAC has not been in the forefront of a lot of changes or activities going on right now, at least in our public role. But myself and a number of other members have been involved with the Reform Collaborative. And we pushed a lot of issues onto that we think some changes that have to be made in order to ensure community policing stays in Albany. There is going to be some major changes occurring. One of the major criticisms of the collaborative was that it was just a blueprint. It wasn't really a plan, and nothing has been in place on how this stuff is going to happen. If you saw the news today, you saw that the Corey Ellis wants to propose some legislation for a public safety commission for the city of Albany. I and a number of other members have been involved in talking about this. I have to tell you right now that there is nothing definite laid out for this. It's a general proposal. What's going to be happening over the next few weeks or month or so, and ACPAC will be part of that, is trying to get the word out that this is one direction we can go in, and want feedback from as many people in the city as possible. From people throughout the city, from the entire city, since it is talking about changing how public safety is done in the city. So everybody should have some ideas, thoughts, comments, criticisms, or recommendations to make, because this is going to affect how all emergency services are handled in the city. It's a complete reorganization. So I would encourage you to be involved in this. You'll be hearing a lot more about it in the very near future. There'll be some public forums on it, and we'll hopefully have some Zoom meetings and stuff like that also, just to try to get input from as many people as possible, both on media, social media, will be on regular mainstream media, and it's giving you a number of different ways to give your comments or recommendations. Again, the proposal that was being made today is just a general proposal. There's nothing carved in stone yet. There's not even much of an outline for it. There's a general outline, and it's up to the citizens of the city of Albany to fill in the details. So I encourage you to keep an eye out for this in the very near future, and think about it and be able to offer some constructive criticism, some ideas, or whatever you have. We're going to listen to everything that comes in. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Zach Simpson from the Council of Albany Neighborhood Association. Do you have some updates you'd like to share with us? Zach, we're not able to hear you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, I had to toggle a different switch. I'll be real quick. Thanks, everybody. Our next Cana meeting was June 2nd. It's going to be June 2nd at 6:30. We're going to have 3 presenters. Maria Markovic, she is the co-chair of Housing for All. Lenny Mercury, the executive director of the Albany Police Athletic League. And then Catherine Costo, she is the executive director of the Albany County Historical Association in Ten Brook Mansion. And thanks, Hillary, for mentioning the forum for mayor. We're also going, Kane is going to be involved also with the council president forum and also wards 2, 3, 5, and 6. And those will be in June, and I'll be sure to share those with everybody once they come out. I think that's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over to Hillary to go on to our next portion, and I think we're just about done here, but Hillary has a few more updates.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Thank you to all of our elected officials, community representatives, extremely important information. I know it's getting late, so we basically have a couple of important updates to share, and everyone can take their time thinking about this and sending us in questions at their convenience. But basically 2 quick things. So the first is that I'm going to start with the short one, the easy one. Please mark your calendar, save the date for our next public HNA meeting, Wednesday, July 21st. We always meet the 3rd Wednesday every other month, but it will be Wednesday, July 21st at 7 p.m. We're going to have a couple of different speakers, but the theme of the evening is going to be quality of life. There's some transportation issues, various issues that we want to be bringing to the table to help advocate for, continue to strengthen the quality of life in our neighborhood. So stay tuned for more details as we get a little more information unfolding. But the main thing we wanted to share tonight with everybody is that we did get some new information. As you know, or as we've been trying to communicate with everybody, we've been liaising, engaging our elected officials around the long-term plans of the new Scotland Avenue Post Office. And the news has been overall encouraging. Just a quick recap if this is new to anyone. So the new Scotland Avenue Post Office is affected by the redevelopment of 563 New Scotland. That plan has been approved. It's in the final stages. The latest information we got from the city was that the developer had not yet submitted the permits for demolition, but it's anticipated that demolition will begin some point this summer, fall. We'll keep you apprised when we know the exact time frame. But essentially, the ultimate decision of the post office, so 2 things. So the developer has accommodated space for the post office, which is great. And ultimately, just to be clear, this is the U.S. Postal Service decision whether or not the post office stays there. But of course, you know, this is a vital community asset, and we're working very hard to advocate that the post office stays there. So the current information, the most recent update we received, which is directly from Congressman Tonko's office, who's been liaising directly with the USPS to provide us with these updates, is that the current lease for Academy Station Post Office has expired, and we are currently in a holdover status. The landlord has provided lease terms for the new facility. However, these terms are not currently considered viable at this time due to truck access issues with the new facility. Furthermore, the landlord is proposing to put the post office in a trailer for 2 to 3 years while they prepare for delivery of the long-term space. And the post office is currently evaluating alternative quarters opportunities. So that is certainly concerning news. So in terms of actions HNA is taking, we're continuing to work with Congressman Tonko's office to seek some additional clarification. There are multiple questions that this update raises, and so we're trying to get those questions answered. And you know, we encourage you either tonight via chat, email, give us a phone call, let us know what other questions you have, and we'll continue to get additional clarity on these things. Just one quick example: is the trailer going to be used for retail services for, you know, the public, for people who have post office boxes, or is it just simply for logistics? So we're gathering questions to further clarify that. We're also working with Congressman Tonko's office to continue to get regular updates on how and when operational decisions that the post office will make, and overall as more information becomes available, status of lease, etc. And we're continuing to ramp up our engagement of our elected officials we're exploring other avenues. We're also currently reaching out and trying to engage Senator Schumer's office as well, so that we can further bolster our advocacy efforts around these issues. So really at this point, we're still, we've got more information. We're still continuing to gather that. If there are questions that you think are important for us to get further clarity on at this point, share them now, send them in the chat. We'll put, Luke, would you mind putting our email address in the chat as well? And folks can mull this over, and we'll continue to share this, you know, this information over email, et cetera. And please stay tuned as well for, you know, future action, you know, as we get more information. Chris, did you want to add anything onto that or elaborate at all?
I see a
No,
hand up.
I think what you said, Hillary, was great. Like Hillary said, we'll continue to keep on this issue and do what we can to advocate to the best of our ability to make sure the post office stays. So we'll keep you posted.
Thank you. And Judy, I see. Hold on.
Yeah. Susan has her. Go ahead, Judy.
As well. Okay.
So I just want to make sure that people know that while this particular project was being considered, the issue of the post office was raised repeatedly, and whether or not this was going to be viable. The developer essentially represented to the planning board, represented to the city, that they were making space, and the delivery platform was all in accordance with the requirements of the United States Postal Service. They attempted to have conversations with the Postal Service. How much, I'm not quite sure. So I don't want to have anybody think that that I have any information that the Postal Service actually saw the plans, et cetera. But what it was being said essentially that for the information that is available online regarding the specifications, that this meets all requirements. I had been told by somebody who is an engineer that the post office will not share a delivery platform with another business because of the security of the mail. I raised that as an issue because that seemed to be what the plan called for, is a shared platform. So if that is an issue here, I think that telling the city that they need to get the developer to modify the plans to accommodate that, if that happens to be, you know, the issue. And since there hasn't been any demolition, it seems to me as though they should have the ability to modify the plans to accommodate the post office, since it was always intended that the post office would be accommodated. So if they made plans that are inconsistent with what the post office needed, then they need to change the plans. Just wanted to provide you,
Council Member,
having these conversations with that background.
That's great background. I think we were all aware of that. So thank you, Judy. That's very helpful.
Susan, do you still have your question? Just unmute.
I have a question. I think there's still people trying to protest the height of the new building. It's higher than what the city originally approved. And does anybody know what's happening with that?
I just make a comment real quick. You know, the Helderberg Neighborhood Association, our goal here isn't to object to the building of 563 New Scotland Avenue. That's, that has already been approved by the city. Our goal here is to make sure that the post office remains, and that's where our focus is going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Susan, share your contact, reach out to us offline, and we can put you in touch with whoever can provide those type of details to you.
I think that wraps up our meeting.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone very much. Stay tuned for more post office updates, and we'll be in touch with all of the links to the great information that we received tonight. So thanks to all of our speakers, to all of our community elected officials, and thanks everyone for attending.